Hello everyone, this is the world server, and tonight I am doing a computer motherboard walkthrough. This is basically for all those computer beginners out there that want to know the basic components of a computer motherboard. And for all those computer gurus out there, I do understand that this is an older motherboard, but it's the only one that I could spare for a walkthrough, because all my other motherboards are plugged into other machines. So I'm going to start off by explaining the onboard devices. These devices right here are called the onboard devices, and they're the devices that are already attached to the motherboard. So you can't move them around, you can't break them off. Don't break them off. If you even try to force it, don't do that, because you'll pretty much just ruin the whole thing. So I'm going to start off up here. These are called your mini DINs. They're color coded for a reason. The purple one is always going to be your keyboard, and your cyan color one is always going to be for your mouse. Back in the day, they only used to have your keyboard port, but it used to be a really big one. So before they had the mini DIN mouse port, they used to actually use the serial port for a mouse. But they don't do that anymore, obviously. So, by the way, this is your serial port. Used to be used for external modems. You can also use it for GPSs, and you can configure switches if you're into networking. On newer motherboards, you still can find them. I've actually looked on Newegg and stuff for just on new motherboards just to kind of see what's on them, and there is still the serial port. However, this port right here, your parallel port, this magenta colored looking port, this is actually phasing out of the new motherboards because there's just not really a point for them anymore. This used to be used for older printers as well as some other devices. I forgot what other devices use this one, but they're really old compared to now. Anyways, this is your onboard VGA port. This is what connects to your monitor. Now, if you're a high-end gamer or into high-end graphics, I would not suggest using the onboard VGA. I would suggest buying a video card of your preference and installing that into your expansion slots, and I'll be talking about those later. The newer motherboards sometimes do come with good graphics. I've seen some new ones that come with the DVI, and I'm not really exactly sure how good of video they are. But if I ever buy a new motherboard, I will be sure to do a walkthrough of a new motherboard. That'd be pretty interesting. Alright, here are the 4 USB ports, and man, pretty much anything that I could ever think of now is used for USB. Your thumb drives, external hard drives, printers, mice, keyboards, even my webcam right here is being used with USB. Here is your onboard Ethernet port, used for networking, internet. And here, last but not least, is your onboard audio jacks, your microphone, your speakers, and your line-in port. And as I said with the VGA, if you want some digital quality audio, your onboard audio is probably not going to be the best bet with this motherboard anyway. I'm sure other newer motherboards do have that kind of layout on their motherboard with digital quality, but this one doesn't, so I would probably suggest buying an expansion card for that. Alright, so I'm going to start off up here. Actually, I'm going to tilt it this way. Now, I'm going to be explaining the main components. I'm not going to be explaining like these capacitors or anything on them, because I don't know what these are. No idea. But I'm just going to be explaining the other things. So this right here is your CPU slot. This is an LGA775 socket. What I had in here before was a Celeron D. You can also put in a Pentium 4 as well as a Core Duo processor. I think it's up to 3.8 gigahertz. This is your RAM slot. This supported DDR PC2100. older RAM for today's operating systems and the software that we have, but it worked during its time. This is your 20-pin power connector. Here is your CMOS battery, and its basic use for this was keeping the time and date current. If you take out the battery, when you put it back in and start your computer up, you can notice that your date and time are not correct and you're going to have to reset it. But that's its main purpose. Here's your BIOS chip. BIOS stands for Basic Input Output System. And if you guys ever want more information on CMOS or BIOS, I will probably make a video on that explaining exactly what they are. Alright, here are your IDE connectors, also known as PATA. Here is your floppy connector for your floppy drive. This is your primary IDE and your secondary. Your primary IDE is mainly used for your hard drives. You can have up to 2 hard drives on the primary, master and slave, or you can set them to cable select, as well as the secondary IDE connector, which is used for mainly CD-ROM drives, and you can also have master and slave CD-ROM drives as well, as long as you set the jumpers correctly. And if you don't know what jumpers are and you don't know what IDE is, this is what was here before they had SATA. And SATA, I do have 2 SATA ports on here, but they were disabled when I used this motherboard because I didn't have any SATA drives at the time, so it was disabled in BIOS. Alright, here is your North Bridge. Your North Bridge communicates with RAM. So mainly, some people think that the CPU just communicates to RAM. But if you notice, if you look carefully on the motherboard, there are no wires going from the CPU to RAM. The CPU first communicates with the North Bridge, then communicates with the RAM. The North Bridge pretty much it controls all the faster devices on your motherboard, such as your video, your VGA, your RAM, your CPU, mainly. Those are basically the main things that it controls. So your North Bridge gathers the address locations in RAM, sends it to the CPU back and forth through the address bus. I can also make a video on the North Bridge as well, on what it can do. I need to learn how to do that though with my computer and the programs that I have. And down here is your South Bridge. South Bridge communicates with all of the slower devices, such as your expansion slots, your PCI, your hard drives, your onboard devices on the side. And I think that's it. And by the way, these are your PCI slots. Say that you wanted a modem for dial-up. I don't know if anybody else uses dial-up anymore. I'm sure there are. You can put that in here. Other stuff like if you didn't have onboard Ethernet for your networking, you can put that in here, as well as sound cards, and there's a lot of expansion cards that you can plug into PCI. You'd be surprised. Let's see if oh yeah, almost forgot. This is your VGA port for high-end graphics. If you wanted an alternate from your VGA, you would plug in a AGP. This isn't VGA. This is VGA. This is not VGA. It's AGP. So yeah, I think that is it though. By the way, this is an SG80. So yeah, sorry if this video was boring. I think I got all my parts correct. I think I mentioned them all correctly. And if I didn't, I'm sorry. But yeah. So I will see you guys later, and thank you for watching.